Do you read Sutter Cane? Welcome to another Horror Review Sunday. This week we're going over In the Mouth of Madness. I just finally checked this one out for the first time. This was directed by John Carpenter. How have I not seen it by now? I should have. Sorry, this one just went under the radar. I've been hearing a lot of talk about it, so I wanted to check it out. It's free on Vudu to check out if you haven't seen it yet. But this movie is okay. I liked it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it like other people. A lot of people have this in their top list, favorite horror movies, especially in the 90s. This is one of the better horror movies of the 90s, and I dig it. I can see why people like it. I can see why some people probably have nostalgia for it. It's unique, it's ambitious, but a quick plot synopsis is it's about this guy named Trent, played by Sam Neill. He goes to a town to look for a missing author. He's like a Stephen King guy. He's Sutter Cane. And he writes all these horror novels, and now he's missing. He has to go find out if he's really missing, what happened to him, or if everything's just bullshit and it's just a publicity stunt for his book. And he gets there and he finds out that, nope, it ain't no publicity stunt, and the stories that this guy wrote are coming to life. This is a movie that even Ari Aster put in as one of his favorite films of all time, or especially horror, one of his favorite horror movies, and it influenced his style. And John Carpenter, he initially passed on this. The script was given to him, and he just said nope, and then they tried to get some other people to do it, like Tony Randall and Mary Lambert, who directed Pet Sematary, but eventually it went back to John Carpenter, and he finally signed on to do it, and the rest is history. This week's shout out goes to L Lordlax69. Thanks for all your comments, buddy, and I hope you keep watching. The positives I can say for this movie is Sam Neill. I think he was from Jurassic Park, right? I haven't seen that one in a long time, but I think he was the guy in Jurassic Park. This guy, he carries the film easily for me. I enjoy his presence. He's got some wit when things are said, like, what creepy things are being said to him, like, they see you. He's just like, yeah, whatever, tell him I said hi. Just his humor, I like it. It makes him a lot more fun to be around. It makes the movie just more fun, and you root for the guy just because of that alone. Because he's funny, because he's got that wit, you're just like, all right, I like this guy. And he's a skeptic, and it makes perfect sense. The fact that it takes so much to get him on board with what's going on. Like, oh shit, yeah, this is really happening. But it's not until like the third act where he's like, oh yeah, this is real. I like the premise of this movie. It's very ambitious with things that they're going for here, and it's kind of unique. The whole like story's coming to life, and he goes to this town, and the town's from the book, and everything that he wrote is like coming true. I like that premise. There's a lot you can do with that. It's just, I feel like they could have done more with it. It's somewhat intriguing, the story, you're kind of interested throughout. There's some moments where I lost interest, but for the most part, I was intrigued. I was never bored. It has a very moderate pace to the film. It's not slow or fast. I had a few good chuckles in this movie, thanks to Sam Neill, his character Trent. I liked some of the things he said. There was some funny moments, especially with the Billy Madison, or is it Happy Gilmore? Happy Gilmore's grandma is in the movie. She plays like a clerk or a cashier or whatever at the hotel, and just some of the things that her character does is pretty funny. You have Kurtzman and Nicotero doing the creature effects in this movie, and the creatures, they look great. And besides that, the effects on like ghost kids' faces, like there's these kids in the movie, and they got like fucked up faces, and the makeup prosthetics on that look eerie as hell, so kudos to them. Now the hottest chick in this movie goes to Styles, the editor who goes on the trip to Hobbs End with Trent to figure out where Sutter Cane is. And the clap award for my favorite scene is Happy Gilmore's grandma when she turns into that tentacle monster and she's kicking that handcuffed dude at her ankles. That was pretty funny. Now I do have some mixed thoughts on this movie, and that is the creatures in this film. They look great, but they're hardly used. This movie, hypes up these creatures like they're coming, winter's coming. like Game of Thrones. And by the time the creatures are seen, they're maybe like framed for like 2 seconds. Like they're on screen for 2 seconds and then they're gone. They're chasing him down a hall and you see them like for 2 seconds and then that's the end of it. And they're banging on the doors and they're really like building that tension. Like, what is it? What's behind the door? What's going to come after him? And then you get that. And the movie's about the end of the world. And it's very anticlimactic and underwhelming. These creatures just look good, and there was a lot of work, hard work, that was put into making these creatures, and they hardly utilize them. So they look good on one hand, but they're not utilized well on the other. So that's why it's a mixed flop. As for any negatives for the film, I would say that Stiles, her acting was very weak. I didn't think she was all that great. This movie gets kind of meta, especially towards the end, and I don't ever care for meta humor. When he goes to the theater and he's like watching the movie within the movie, I guess it makes sense for the script, what they're going for, but the whole like directed by John Carpenter thing, I just don't like meta in horror. And I don't like when a movie starts at the end or towards the end, especially this movie. It opens up with Sam Neill. He's being locked away in an asylum, and then it builds up to that. This whole movie's a flashback, so you're like, oh, I know where the story's leading. I know Sam Neill will make it out of this situation. In this situation, I know where the story's going now because they opened up with the end, and I don't get that. I guess movies do it to just open up interesting. We gotta like grab the audience's attention. We gotta intrigue them. Let's not open up the movie with Sam Neill in a agent insurance agent office, like whatever, that's boring. Let's just open it up with the end of the movie where things are interesting. Just stop doing it, Hollywood. Stop. This movie has jump scares, quite a few of them, and the overall story, as intriguing as it might be, I do lose my interest a couple of times towards the end. I just feel like they could have done a lot more with this premise, the whole end of the days thing. And as for the tone of this movie, it's comedic at times, but I feel like it's trying to be scary, and it kind of fails on that, in my opinion. Like, I never felt tense. I never really felt any like tension like building up slowly, like anything like that. There's just those jump scare moments where the music gets rolled out, and that doesn't work for me. So I didn't think this movie was scary at all. It was just kind of funny here and there and somewhat interesting, and the story was kind of cool. But yeah, I wasn't huge on this movie. I don't hate it, but I don't like it either. I don't hate it and I don't love it. I'm just like right in the middle. So final thoughts. I think this is an okay movie. It's definitely worth checking out. I don't think it's a terrible film. It's got good creature effects, and then Sam Neill, he plays an interesting character. He's funny, he's witty, he carries the film for me. I don't think it's boring. It's got a good pace. It's definitely worth checking out. So when it comes to In the Mouth of Madness, if you haven't seen this John Carpenter film, definitely check this one out at Redbox. Time for the spoiler discussion. Let's really talk about the film. Alright, so we open up with that asylum. He goes to the asylum, he kicks the guy right in the balls. Sorry about your balls. And then he's like, I'm not crazy. And that would just suck. That's a nightmare. I would hate to ever be like locked in an asylum knowing I'm not crazy. That's my worst nightmare. And I love how they give him a single crayon and he's somehow able to mark every cubic inch of that room. All four walls are marked up with crucifixes, including the door, the floor, ceiling, his face, his outfit, everything. And when they come in there, that one crayon that he was given, it looks like he barely used it. And that's where I call bullshit. So there's a little wink to John Carpenter. They play the Carpenters music. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that band. It's a duo. So just to explain that to you guys. It's a band, and he's like, I hate the Carpenters. So it's kind of like a wink to John Carpenter. Get it? All right, so moving on. So yeah, and then we find out that Kane's missing. This guy's like an insurance, Trent, played by Sam Neill. He's an insurance guy. He seeks out like false claims. He's a bullshit detector. If somebody like burns down their warehouse for money, he finds that shit out. He investigates, and he loves it. He loves catching people on a lie. It doesn't matter if they're even like related to him. If it's his own mother, he says, if his own mother burnt down a warehouse for money, insurance money, he would arrest her, no problem, because he just loves doing his job. So they hired him to find out where Sutter Cane is, and he thinks it's all publicity stunt, so he goes to find out what's really going on. But he's having this meeting, and then all of a sudden this wax-wielding crazy maniac comes in, says the iconic line from the film, like, "Do you read Sutter Cane?" And he's like, "Nope." And he gets shot by the police, but he's like about to attack him, and then he believes Trent that was a publicity stunt, like that's all part of their game, like they somehow pulled that off. Get the fuck out of here. Really? How did they pull that one off? Blood packs or something? Yeah, but then he buys all the books, he starts reading all of them, and he supposedly read like six. How many books were there? Like eight, and they should be real books. That would be interesting if they actually made these books in the movie real, like Victor Crowley did with that I Survivor book. If they did that, they would make some money. But yeah, he somehow got like all these books. They're like 300 to 500 pages long. They're thick, like Stephen King length novels. Like he read all that like over a weekend. Did he fucking speed read? Get the fuck. And then not only that, are we led to believe he read all those books, but that he's able to retain information and scenes from in it. Because when he gets to the Hobbs End Hotel later on, he's like, "Oh well, if what you say is true, according to the book, there should be a church out this window." And he opens it. He's like, "See, there is it." Like he has all these like descriptive like details from the book like in his head that he just read like a week ago. And he read like all 10 books. Get the fuck out of here. There's no way. But yeah, he gets the books and he gets all the covers. He like rips them off, puts them all together, and makes like a map of Vermont. So they go to Vermont because they think that's where this fictional town is, and they find it. And I think that one scene's creepy where the chick, Style, she's driving down the road. She sees that bicyclist. He's like in this never-ending loop. He just keeps driving by. No matter, like she keeps passing him, but then they still keep passing him over and over and over again. He's like getting older. He's like young, and then he's like 50 years older. That's a terrifying thought, to think that you could be stuck in this weird loop for 50 years on a bicycle. That would suck. But yeah, then they get there, and I feel like seeing how he's very skeptical, but he doesn't find it skeptical that she found Hobbs End while he was asleep. I would have woke up like, who put that sign up? Is this really Hobbs End? Like, he wasn't skeptical then. I don't know why he wouldn't be. He's skeptical over everything else. He thinks that some guy faked his death right in front of him, but he doesn't think that they faked that Hobbs End sign. And, like, he thinks everything else is fake. He should have been skeptical in that moment, but he wasn't. This movie has a dream within a dream, and I always hate that in movies, and I don't like it here. I don't hate it, but it's not necessary. It's just a cheap scare. It's like, oh, look, the guy on the couch, you think he's awake. There's going to be no more scares. Boom, extra scare. Now he's awake. That was a dream. Like, come on. Enough with that. I love when he's in the car with Styles and she's like asleep and he just gets a squeaky toy to wake her up. He's just fucking with her for no reason. Then she starts throwing chips at him. He's like, "Hey, never throw chips at a driver." But then they get to this hotel and Happy Gilmore's grandma is the worker there. And then there's like this old naked guy handcuffed to her ankle and she's like kicking out like, "Shh, shut up." That scene was pretty funny. Then later on, he sees her in the basement. She's like a tentacle monster. Says, "Yeah, you think that's set up? He's still a skeptic. I think at this point, he gets in his car. He's trying to run away, and then he has to start the car with like a screwdriver, and then he's driving in a circle like that bicyclist, and then he's like still a skeptic in this moment, thinking they're somehow yanking his chain. Like, I think I just made a few wrong turns. It's like, really, that many times? Get the fuck out of here. When are you going to start believing, buddy? And how do you explain that guy who took a shotgun shell to the face right in front of you? You think that was set up too? Seriously, buddy? Get a grip. Oh, but then we also find out that he was half right. Like, they were supposed to set up this hoax, this, publicity stunt with the, missing author. Ooh, but it was true, but now it's not true. Like, their little hoax has gone off the rails. And, yeah, they weren't expecting the books to come to life and whatnot. So yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting little twist. Like, you're right, Trent, but also not right. And then Styles, she starts randomly making out with Trent. And then later on, I realized it was like, oh, because they're characters in a book, and she's being forced to like make out with him. So, and then by the end of this, you find out that this main character, Trent, I'm not sure how much of his life has been part of a book. If he just woke up a middle-aged insurance agent, I don't know. But you find out he's a character in a book. I guess he's never been real. He's a puppet. He doesn't realize he's a puppet. He thinks he has free will. But there's certain moments where he does seem like he's having his own free will, his own conscience, making his own decisions. So it's kind of confusing. It's like how much of what he's done was actually just him, and how much of it was Sutter Cane writing him, I don't know. It's kind of confusing. I haven't really made sense of all of it. I was kind of tired when I watched it. Maybe shouldn't have done it. But yeah, then we see the monster on the back of Sutter Cane. They meet Sutter Cane, and he's typewriting the book, and he finishes it, gives it to the main character, Trent, and he's like, fuck this book. He burns it, rips it up to pieces, and it just keeps coming back. But we also see these creatures, before he runs away with the book and whatnot, or without it, whatever, that you see the door pounding, and the monsters are coming, and Sutter Cane's like, I can't hold them back much longer. There's all this anticipation, like, where's the monsters? And then all we get is that little chase sequence where he's running down the hall, and you kind of see them, like, in the background. It's just kind of lame. Like, you build them up like that, and that's all we get. That's the biggest, like, negative for the movie. That is if we could remake this movie today, more emphasis on the monsters. Show the monsters more. I don't think this movie will ever be remade, but I'd watch a remake. Oh, and then we get this awesome spider crawl. I'm not sure what's up with that sound design, the weird noises that all her joints are making. It sounds watery. It sounds weird. I don't know. But she gets out of the car like the Exorcist, and she's like doing a spider crawl, and her head's like backwards. That shit was awesome. That's the only scary part of the movie. That was the only moment I was like, ooh, now that's creepy. And that little girl's face at the church, that was kind of creepy. There's like little moments where I'm like, oh, that's kind of creepy. But overall, it's not really a scary movie. It's kind of more fun, funny. Because Sam Neill, he's just so witty and awesome. Speaking of being witty, another thing I love about Sam Neill's character in here is when he's in the confession booth in Sutter Cane. He's basically God, because all his fans, they worship his books like the Bible, and he's like, your books suck. And then like the light like shines, and he's like forcing him to look at it or something. I don't know. It's like, did he anger the gods? Did he anger Sutter Cane? Did he anger the monsters that make him write the books? And, like, was that not written? Like, he's a character, right? So when he said your book sucks, was that in the book, or was that just his own free will? You know what I mean? Like, how much is Trent's character, like, doing on his own? Yep, then he hitchhikes, goes to a hotel, the book pops up that he burnt. Oh no, it's cursed, he'll always have it, it's never going away. Then he finds out that there's a movie, and the movie is him, and everything we've been seeing, like, it's somehow been filmed. I can't make sense of that, but whatever. It's fiction, so anything can happen. So, and it's like next month. It's like, damn, they fast-tracked that movie. I thought Blumhouse was always good at fast-tracking, but these people, this book just came out, and they're already making a fucking movie. Next month, it's coming out. That's impossible. To shoot, hire people for that movie, light it, edit it, sound mixing, fucking marketing, like all of it in 1 month, no way. Trent goes back to the guy who hired him to go find Sutter Cane, and he's like, we've never heard of Styles. Who are you talking about? Dun dun dun. So is this like, did Styles ever exist, or is it just like this new reality? And she was written out of it, something like that. And yeah, he goes to the movies, and he's just washing himself. And I've always seen that meme. It's like a meme now of Sam Neill in the theaters, like looking at the theater all happy, eating popcorn. And I've never known what film it was from. And when I saw it, I was like, that's where that meme's from. It was just funny to see that. To be like, oh, that's where that meme came from. And he's just laughing his ass off, having a good time, watching himself on TV. Meanwhile, the world's ending. Everybody's dead outside, but you see like a few people walking outside the theater. So I guess it's just the insane people walking around, and the sane people are dead or locked up. I don't know. So... but yeah, that's really the end of it. He also becomes like the axe killer, and he axes that one guy in the face. Like, do you read Sutter Cane? Well, then you should see this coming. Axes him in the face. That's interesting. So you should see this coming. That means that it was in the book, right? Him axing that guy in the face. It was written. So he's like, you should see this coming because it was written. Boom. I don't know. Confusing movie. Kind of confusing. Yeah, movie's over. He's a book. He's a character in the book, and his whole life became a movie. Yada, yada, yada. Weird movie, unique, definitely worth checking out. So yeah, that's the end of In the Mouth of Madness. I don't really have a Mr. Hair Twig award to give out because there wasn't a kill or anything that I really liked or didn't like. Was there any kills in this movie? Like, it's not like a slasher film, so who really dies? Does anyone really die in this movie? We don't see anything happen besides the one guy killing himself. Was that ever real? That was just a book. He's just a character. It doesn't exist. So is the body count 0 in this movie? Nobody dies. So yeah, interesting film. I liked it. So what are your thoughts on In the Mouth of Madness? Do you think it's a masterpiece? Do you think it's the best of the Apocalypse trilogy, Prince of Darkness, The Thing, and In the Mouth of Madness? I haven't seen Prince of Darkness yet, so maybe I'll check that one out next. But put your thoughts of this film in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you like what you see here, you can hit this like button, share with all your friends, and become a subscriber today just by clicking the My Cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.